this session is going to be focusing on best practices for running an AI and advanced analytics program. First, few words about the company. So we have just one sole mission, which is converting data into value and helping our customers to do so. And the issue is that between data and value, there is a chasm, a gap that consists of many factors, such as skill set, such as technology, such as legacy systems, but also talent, culture, appropriate setup. So Unit8 exists to help our customers bridge this chasm and convert their data into value. And we believe that this is best done by people who have been there and done that. That's why we assembled a digital native crew. So our employees have worked for companies such as Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Palantir, Apple, and many others. So these are cherry-picked, highly talented people who already have a lot of experience in this field and helped companies to convert their data into value. Now, talking a little bit about one of the core aspects of AI and its business impact, we already see that the impact of AI on the economy is profound, and the projections are quite striking. So I think McKinsey is talking about 13 to 15 trillion of GDP growth by 2030, out of which 2.5 would be in Europe. So this is unimaginable sum of money that can help our economy grow. And we think that this aspect of AI and analytics is really a key one for enterprises in the 2020s. We think that 2020 is a decade of analytics. So this is just an intro, and now let's discuss back the key topic. Which is how to run a successful advanced analytics program. So why are we talking about it, or why I feel credible to talk about it, is a simple reason that I worked in this space now for even surprisingly to me 15 years, or close to 15 years. And I've seen, probably close to 100 projects and efforts in the space of AI and advanced analytics. Out of this, about 50 we delivered as Unit8, and also I've seen others in my previous roles. And over time, what you start seeing is basically patterns. So, there are certain things that are commonly causing issues for enterprises, no matter which vertical we are talking about, also no matter even what's the size of the company or geography. So today I'm going to share with you some of those experiences in form of 6 stories and 6 principles that I hope you're going to find useful in your efforts. So my first story is from one of our Unit8 customers. Let's call him Mark. He is running, analytics team for a very large manufacturing company, and he approached Unit8 with following brief. So we want to go towards AI, we want to go towards advanced analytics, and we need to build a scalable, performant platform that will allow us to do so. So far, so good. Sounds like a very reasonable thing to do. So we started engaging, and we started asking questions about, first of all, the use cases, the type of systems that need to be integrated, the type of business problems that we want to solve. And here we quickly realized that Mark, despite all his good intentions, didn't really have a clear plan or clear picture of what sort of use cases he wants to solve or serve with his platform. And this is a big issue because there is no one-size-fits-all solution. Depending on many factors, and really on the business problems you're trying to solve, your approach has to be very different. So it's almost impossible to build a generic platform that would solve all sorts of problems. And if you try to do so, very likely you're going to end up building a sort of monster that is not necessarily useful for your cases. And this brings me to our principle number 1: put the business impact first. So start from the business and derive technology solution from that, not other way around. And it might sound obvious to you. If this is the case, that's great. But I can tell you that we've seen these sort of problems over and over again talking to our customers. So it was not only Mark, but several others who are trying to start from the tech side and build something because artificial intelligence is a trendy topic, and it never works. It never works. It's a recipe for burning cash. It's a recipe for not making an impact. So whenever we started from the business problem and we derived the tech solution, it was always different story, and we had a lot of success with this approach. So my second story is from our engagement in Big Pharma. So we've been mandated to optimize a very large manufacturing process for one of top 10 pharma companies globally. So what we do in those cases is we start first with understanding of the problem, of course, trying to map out the process, visiting the factory to understand what's happening. But very quickly, like almost day one, we look at what sort of data are available in there. And by doing a small inspection, we realized that the data assets that were available were very scattered. So we had pieces of it all over the place. Some of them were stored in Excel sheets, some of them were stored in files, and even parts of the data were stored in, guess what, old-fashioned nice paper forms. So this is just to say that the maturity of modern enterprises when it comes to treating the data can be quite low, and it's a big deal and a big problem, because what you need to do first, if you want to optimize such process, you need to start collecting your data in a systematic, governed way. So this is what we did. Of course, we started improving the data collection processes. We put in place a system that was bringing together all those scattered siloed data so that we could join them, and we started from there. But we are not talking here about some small manufacturing company or a startup. This is top 10 pharma. And you can see that this data collection and data governance systems were not really there. And this brings me to the second principle. You have to treat data as an asset. So if we all believe that data is the new oil, you need to treat it as such. And analogy I typically like to use in this case is that one of cash and the CFO. So I think we all agree that cash and in general, money for an enterprise is an asset. And that's why we have CFO. That's why we have controlling team. That's why we have a lot of roles which are there to govern and manage cash and money of the enterprise. We have SAP systems, etc., etc. So if data is an asset, we need to treat it with similar attention. We need to have right systems, right governance in place, right processes. And importantly, this data collection aspect has to be part of the culture of the company. That's something that digitally native companies have sort of built in their DNA, whereas still for many enterprise customers, this is not obvious. Talking about third principle, that's something that we've seen in numerous places. There is so much hype around the topic of AI and analytics overall that executives are getting confused about the topic, because it's very easy, if you read business articles, business news, it's very easy to have impression that AI and machine learning is much more sophisticated or potent than it really is. Not to say that it cannot solve problems, it can, but it's not a magic one. And we've seen this problem over and over again, that some of our customers, especially on top level, need to have their expectations leveled up, because we need to explain them what is feasible and what is still just in the realm of fantasy. So this is the third principle, very important. Manage inflated expectations, and also in your projects put conscious effort really to make sure that the expectations from the business and from the technology team are on a similar level, they are calibrated. Next story I wanted to share with you is from automotive industry, and that's quite interesting one, because here our customer hired us in the beginning of the journey to help them bootstrap the analytics efforts, and he was very nice and transparent with us. He said, look, I need your help in the very beginning, then I want to basically build up all those capabilities in-house, and I'm gonna then basically phase out the help from Unit 8 after 3-4 months. And we said, fine, this is perfectly reasonable thing to do. We're gonna help you, of course, and thank you for transparency. It helps for our planning. This is great. What happened after this couple months is our customer realized that actually attracting talent that he needs is much more difficult than he thought, for a number of reasons. So first of all, he didn't even know what he was looking for. So he started with hiring highly sophisticated, very, I would say, mathematically focused profiles, very smart people, but not very hands-on, missing some of the practical experiences with analytics. So it was a missed shot, because they couldn't really help him to get where he wanted. The next try was more successful, so he was looking already for right profiles, but he saw that it's very difficult to attract the right level of the talented people. And finally, when he hired some of those, he had a big retention issue, because overall the big picture wise, the company is not a software company, it's not analytics company, and they had really hard time to keep those talented people in, because of the culture clash, because of certain processes that they have in place, etc., etc. So essentially, months were passing by, and he realized that his initial plan was completely not realistic. So principle number 4, get the talent right, and don't underestimate how hard for a non-digital native company it might be to actually attract the right type of talent. And here, shameless advertising, get yourself the right partners to start with, because companies such as Unit 8 can really help you to bootstrap and kickstart those efforts without hitting the wall of the talent war. And this is interesting principle. Here again, we are back to pharma, and the story goes as follows. We are optimizing complicated supply chain set of problems, and we are mandated to improve efficiency by 5% of that process. And 2 months in the course of the project, we thought, and the technical team thought, we are doing really, really good. We reached already the 5%. We were actually above it. We were heading towards 10%. We found some inefficiencies in the whole process, and things were going really, really well. But apparently, and surprisingly to us, when we talked to the business customers, they were not super satisfied, despite the results that we were showing. And we didn't know really what was happening. And only after a couple of weeks, we realized that the tech team and the business team were really living on different planets in terms of expectations, in terms of understanding, in terms of language they were using. And it was a pure communication and translation problem. And that's something we've seen on this project, but also on actually several other engagements. And this brings me to principle number 5, is don't forget about the business translators, because quite often your tech team and the business customer, they are really living into different worlds. So what we did in this case is we put in place a person who was good enough in business and good enough in tech to be able to make this translation. And it improved immediately the results, and the project was actually very, very successful in the end. And last but not least, if you're doing analytics, you need 2 things. You need a lot of good storage, and you need flexible compute power, and likely a lot of it delivered in a flexible manner. And those 2 simple requirements are apparently not easy to be fulfilled by traditional IT departments of large enterprise, which are usually used to provisioning, VMs or just few machines in more static way. So what you need in the end is a cloud environment, and if you have it, this gives you a big boost, because this means the team, instead of solving low-level problems such as provisioning machines or opening firewalls, can really focus on the data science part and solving the business problem at hand. So our advice here is to use strong infrastructure foundations, and those are typically provided by the public cloud. And here, old continent is lagging behind US when it comes to adoption of the public cloud. However, this is now slowly but surely changing, and we see some traction even in those highly regulated environments such as banking, such as insurance, such as pharma. And this is a good sign, because we can see that even these most reluctant players are now going cloud, and I think the rest will follow. So still smaller canton on local players are not yet there, but I think when they will look up to the market leaders, the direction is fairly obvious. So to slowly wrap it all up, if you want to run a successful AI advanced analytics program, these are some good practices. Of course, you should start with vision and strategy. I didn't talk about it because I think this is obvious, but of course you need to know where you're going. You need to have a big picture direction in which you're heading. And then there are 3 pillars: the business, the organization and culture, and the technology. In the business, start with the business. So impact and the business comes first. You derive tech from it, not the other way around. You need to manage expectations of your customers, because there is a lot of confusion and noise in the topic. We advise you to have business translators to ensure even better communication between the business customers and the tech team. Then when we go to organization and culture, treat data as an asset. And this has to do with technology aspects, but also really culture and mindset. So you think first, whenever you're starting a new project, how you're going to collect the relevant data, or what data are relevant and how they should be managed and governed. Obviously, talent, essential. Don't underestimate how hard it might actually be for you to attract and retain the right level of talent for what you're trying to do. And last but not least, use public cloud. These infrastructure foundations will speed you up. And if you take those to account, you are, in my opinion, increasing a lot your chances of positive business outcomes.